Welcome to a brand new series where we peer into the haunted corners of the mortal realms. Through Locke's stack of cursed scrolls, of course. I'm Khee, his goblin architect of illusions, your narrator, guide, and occasional health hazard. And as always, my dear Chronicler Locke is here too. Half-elf, full nerd, and entirely too serious about filing his parchment alphabetically. Together, we're diving into the twisted tales of Warhammer Underworlds, a collection of strange places and stranger warbands, all trapped in endless battles where dying doesn't mean you get to leave. Seriously, it's like a bad vacation package. Today we're starting where it all began, with the cursed city of Shadespire, the birthplace of the infamous Kataphranes curse. It's ancient, it's haunted, and it absolutely hates you. So, grab your plague mask, a strong stomach, and maybe a nice snack for later. You're gonna need it. Shadespire, or as it's also called, the Mirrored City, the City of Mirrors, the City Between Realms, and oh no, not that place again, depending who you ask. Built way back in the Age of Myth, it was meant to be a nice little rest stop for travelers crossing the Desert of Bones in the realm of Shyish. You know, the deathy one. Great place for a picnic if your idea of fun is being surrounded by dust, ghosts, and people politely asking you to stay dead. But here's the fun part. Shadespire isn't in the realm of Shyish anymore. It got banished, yanked right out of reality and flung into some in-between realm limbo soup, thanks to a magical tantrum by a very grumpy god. Now it's stuck halfway between realms, like a sock behind a washing machine, except the sock is full of necromantic energy and murder. And that's where all our stories begin. Welcome to Shadespire, sweetie. You'll be dying to leave. In the Age of Myth, explorers venturing across the Desert of Bones discovered a place they named the Oasis of Souls, a hidden region of deep canyons cutting far beneath the dunes of crushed bone. Here, despite the harshness of the realm of Shyish, life thrived, shelter was found, and soon a settlement emerged. Over generations, this humble shantytown blossomed into the famed city of Shadespire. Oh, lovely. A city built on bones and death magic. Sounds like the perfect place for a vacation home, Locke. No wonder you nerds like writing about it. At its height, Shadespire became a bustling mercantile hub, attracting countless races who came to trade and live within its fortified walls. Its fame grew particularly due to the production of refined shade glass, a remarkable substance harvested from deep within the Oasis of Souls. Shade glass, huh? Nothing creepy about storing your soul inside a shiny mirror. Nope. Perfectly normal. The city was governed by the Kataphranes, powerful lord wizards and master inventors. They were the first to discover the true potential of shade glass, that it could preserve souls after death. Utilizing this discovery, they created a vast network of soul mirrors throughout the city, ensuring their knowledge and expertise could be retained across generations. Imagine your granddad nagging you forever from inside your jewelry. Back in my day, we didn't use enchanted mirrors to talk. We used the souls of our ancestors to talk like normal people. Over time, the Kataphranes' mastery grew, and soon their discoveries advanced even further. They crafted devices allowing the living to step into the Faneway mirror, a mystical nexus linking every fragment of shade glass, and speak directly to ancestors. The city's walls became embedded with the souls of fallen warriors, eternally vigilant protectors guarding Shadespire against any threat. Talk about job security. Eternity spent stuck in a wall because some wizard said it's for the good of the city. Pretty sure they left that part out when recruiting. More wondrous and bizarre creations followed. Families could speak to lost loved ones through enchanted heirlooms, while powerful golems of shade glass, animated by the spirits of loyal retainers, served their masters even beyond death. Imagine serving your boss for eternity without even getting paid overtime. Honestly, Locke, I'd haunt you for that. But, as with all great civilizations, the city's rise would inevitably invite tragedy. And that's where things get juicy. But you'll have to wait for the next scroll for that part, which is now. The city's prosperity drew the gaze of Nagash, the great necromancer. Discovering that Shadespire's rulers had been depriving him of souls he considered his rightful due, Nagash devised a punishment befitting their defiance. Rather than simply obliterating the city, Nagash wielded the very power of shade glass against its creators. enacting a ritual that shattered the Faneway and hurled Shadespire into the shadowed void between Ulgu and Hish, a realm known as Ulgish. Ah, Nagash, the biggest buzzkill in all the mortal realms. You won't give me your shiny soul mirrors? Fine. Enjoy eternity trapped in a spooky maze. Petty, but effective. As Nagash's magic consumed Shadespire, the once glorious city fractured into countless shards, each piece scattering through the void. With the Faneway shattered, souls became prisoners of their own city, unable to escape. For millennia, the Kataphranes desperately sought ways to reverse this curse. They believed that gathering and reassembling fragments of pure shade glass might restore the Faneway and break Nagash's spell. Yet confined within their mirrored prisons, they were powerless to act. Classic wizard problem. All the power in the universe still needs someone else to fetch their stuff. The Kataphranes initially turned to their citizens for help, but this proved disastrous. Madness and paranoia quickly consumed those tasked with retrieving the lost artifacts. The very structure of Shadespire itself began to twist and warp unpredictably. Walls became illusions, chambers impossibly shifted, and staircases turned traitorous, throwing unfortunate souls into endless darkness. Hope dwindled as quickly as sanity, leaving the inhabitants trapped in a perpetual nightmare of undeath. So basically, it's like trying to find your keys in a haunted house, if the house itself kept rearranging the furniture and occasionally tried to eat you. Even more horrifyingly, portions of Shadespire began to reflect Nagash's malevolent will. His grim visage would manifest fleetingly in reflective surfaces, or form slowly in the city's twisted architecture, further tormenting the trapped inhabitants. Driven to despair, many citizens blinded themselves with shards of shade glass to avoid seeing Nagash's cruel image. Well, that's one solution, I suppose. If only they had, I don't know, covered the mirrors? Or worn blindfolds? I'm just saying, if I was seeing scary things, I wouldn't immediately jump to gouge out my own eyes first. Others, driven by fear, turned to worshiping Nagash. These devotees seized entire sections of the city, erecting grotesque monuments and shrines to the Lord of Undeath. They zealously gathered shade glass relics as offerings, housing them within grisly sepulchres constructed from the still-living bodies of unbelievers and unfortunate trespassers. Remind me to never anger a skeleton god with unlimited cosmic powers and questionable interior decorating tastes. Seriously, Locke, next vacation we're going somewhere sunny. Shadespire lay dormant for centuries, a cursed ruin half buried beneath the bone-dust dunes of the Desert of Bones. Ward storms howled overhead, and dark legends whispered warnings to any fool with a map and a dream. For a time, the city's terrible curse had few fresh victims. Right! Because clearly what everyone needs is a vacation home in a realm literally called the Realm of Death, with weather patterns powered by the anguish of the dead. Charming. Still, not everyone listened to reason. Some were drawn by greed, others by desperation, and a few just wanted to poke haunted things with sticks. These brave or brainless souls ventured into the mirrored city, lured by stories of enchanted relics and forgotten power. Some even returned, though they were rarely the same. They brought back strange treasures, knowledge long buried, and eyes that never quite stopped twitching. Relics, madness, and cursed mirrors honestly sounds like a standard Tuesday in the mortal realms. It wasn't long before these whispers reached the ears of warbands, cultists, orcs, and worse. Blood was spilled at the city gates. Skavens skittered through broken corridors, dragging anything shiny back to their nests. Shadespire had become a battleground again, less a city, more a lure for doom-struck adventurers. And here I thought my job was dangerous. At least I only have to deal with Locke's cooking once a week. But it wasn't just the desperate and the mad who turned their gaze toward Shadespire. The God King Sigmar himself took notice. His Stormcast Eternals, immortal warriors reforged in lightning, had paid a steep price in the Realmgate Wars. With every death and reforging, they lost something of themselves. Humanity eroded, memories blurred, emotion faded. So they basically became grumpy golden statues with trauma. Got it. Hoping that Shadeglass might offer a solution, that it could preserve a soul from splintering, Sigmar sent his agents into Shadespire. He sought understanding, perhaps even salvation for his armies. But the warriors and scholars he dispatched, well, they could not have imagined what waited in the city's shadowed halls. That's the polite way of saying they immediately regretted their life choices. In time, even the once mighty Kataphranes succumbed to despair. Those few who retained sanity began to make arrangements. Adventurers, mercenaries, sometimes even monsters. Anyone who might help them rebuild the Faneway and escape. They didn't care if their allies were heroes, villains, or something in between. All that mattered was the goal. Desperation really makes strange bedfellows. I once worked with a flesh-eater courtier who thought I was a turnip. Still owe him a drink, actually. And so, as the malign portents flared and the realms were thrown into chaos, more and more souls stumbled into the mirrored city. Some noble, some savage, some cunning, others utterly deranged. Now they all clash within the maze of glass and bone where death is temporary, violence is constant, and every alley could be your last. So, welcome to Shadespire. We have ghosts, mirrors, and an excellent refund policy. Just kidding, there are no refunds. Ever. Now for the pivotal moment in the mortal realm's history, the Necroquake. It began with a rumble that swiftly grew to a deafening roar. Pale, despairing eyes turned to the roiling skies above Shadespire. A sickly green maelstrom streaked with boiling energy and shrieking tempest. Ooh, I don't like that. Nothing good ever starts with a rumble and ends with skulls of living flame. That's not weather. That's a full-blown magical tantrum. The ground shook and broke apart into grinding teeth of glass. Walls crumbled. Hailstorms of crystal were hurled through the air, propelled by a rushing tempest of magic. Entire sections of the mirrored city collapsed in refractive avalanches, torn apart by erupting geysers of spirit energy. Right, so just your average Tuesday in Shyish. Gigantic skulls of living flame lit the streets, engulfing anything in their path. And in the gloomy depths of the city, in the underground laboratories of the Kataphranes and the catacombs beneath, ethereal shapes crawled their way into the city from the etheric void. Oh, delightful. Crawling void things and flaming skulls. All we're missing is a cursed xylophone and a very haunted tea set. The same deity that had cursed Shadespire to its grim fate worked this destruction. The Shyishian Necroquake had unleashed a torrent of amethyst magic across the mortal realms. Even the mirrored city, hidden in the penumbral domain of Ulgish, was not safe from this turmoil. Because of course, Nagash doesn't believe in half measures. If you're going to be petty, might as well be cosmically petty. Magic breached the city's enchanted walls and pierced the layers of obfuscation that had kept Shadespire a whispered tale of dread and horror. Across the realms, the eyes of mages, visionaries, and avaricious beings were drawn to this strange prison of illusions and madness. Oh yeah, nothing attracts attention like a reality-tearing magic beacon going, "Look at me," across 10 realms. One by one, disparate beings began to claw their way through breaches in the skin of reality, emerging into Shadespire. In turn, the desperate souls already trapped within its borders began to see flickers of the outside world, images of distant cities and far-flung lands. Just enough hope to make it hurt. Classic curse design. And then, the Necroquake's final gift, the Kataphranes curse, spread. Reflections of Shadespire began appearing across the mortal realms. Fractured echoes, splinters of the mirrored city embedded in new places. The curse was no longer contained. Wonderful. So now it's not just one haunted ruin full of desperate ghosts and treasure-hungry maniacs. It's lots of haunted ruins. A full franchise of magical misery. What exactly is the Kataphranes curse, you ask? The Kataphranes curse is a magical anomaly born of the desperation of the Kataphranes of Shadespire and the godly spite of Nagash. The curse denies the peace of oblivion to those afflicted, condemning them to rise again after each death, trapped in a cycle unable to escape. Well, that's bleak. Imagine stubbing your toe every time you resurrect and not being allowed to die from it. Just eternally stubbing and screaming. A quick little review. So, when the wizard lords of Shadespire, known as the Kataphranes, discovered shade glass, They used its abilities to trap their mortal essences within mirrored constructs to outwit death itself, because that always goes well. But Nagash, ruler of Shyish, does not take kindly to being cheated. His revenge was terrible. He cast the city into the void beyond reality and damned its citizens to a purgatorial twilight, where death is denied and rebirth is inevitable. Right, so your options are die, wake up, fight, die, wake up again, rinse, repeat, forever. It's less a curse and more a really awful customer loyalty program. Those who fight and die in the ruins of the city are reborn from splintered soul echoes, locked forevermore in a cycle of violence. Even the lunch breaks are haunted. For centuries, the Kataphranes curse was confined to Shadespire alone. It afflicted only its tormented denizens and those unlucky or foolish enough to stumble in looking for treasure or legacy. See, this is why you always read the terms and conditions before looting anything cursed. There's probably fine print that says warning may include unending undeath and mandatory eternal combat. When the Shyish Necroquake came, the catastrophic eruption of energy shook the realms themselves, and its shockwaves rolled through the void and battered against Shadespire. Vast fractures rent the Faneway at the city's heart, spreading out from its enchanted mirrors, splitting and corrupting the very stuff of reality. Oh yeah, that'll do it. Nothing says oopsie like breaking space-time with a magic soul mirror. Worse still, where those spiderweb cracks sliced through the weave and weft of the real, they carried the Kataphranes curse across the realms. Oh good. Now everyone gets a piece. It's like a birthday cake made of screaming. These rips in reality also allowed warbands trapped by the curse to pass seamlessly between Underworlds. Ah, perfect. No tolls, no tickets, just an all-you-can-die buffet. First stop, Beastgrave. Next, Harrowdeep. Eventually, therapy. Maybe. If you thought an undead city in a bone desert was bad, wait until you try getting lost inside a sentient mountain that hungers for flesh. Or a drowning dream ocean filled with horrors. The vacation options are just fantastic. Okay, next part, this one's titled Night Vault. Sigmar's initial forays into the ruins of Shadespire had met with disaster. The Hammers of Sigmar, first amongst the God King's Grand Storm hosts, had lost many warriors during an ambush by chaos-worshipping raiders, and as they battled through the time-worn remnants of the city, more had disappeared seemingly into thin air. You'd think magical super knights with lightning armor wouldn't be so easy to misplace. But nope. Poof! Gone. Like my patience during group projects. The Storm host's commanders reported back to Azurheim that a curse lay over Shadespire, a malicious enchantment that was spiriting away those who entered its borders. Yeah, no, I definitely don't trust architecture that eats people. That's like Haunted House 101. To unbind this enchantment, Sigmar dispatched an elite force of Stormcast Eternals from his secretive sacrosanct chambers, arcane champions who brought with them the power of the celestial storm. Ah, the magical nerds. Big hammers, bigger vocabularies. Led by the veteran Knight Incantor Averon Stormsire, and well-versed in the ways of fell magic, these scholars identified the loci of the curse that had claimed Shadespire. Cursed gateways, and malevolent, haunted artifacts crafted from corrupted shade glass. Realizing that the only way to end this ancient evil was to enter the mirrored city, Sigmar's agents willingly stepped through one of these dark portals, determined to see the God King's will done or die in the attempt. And here we see the difference between Stormcast and goblins. They go toward the glowing nightmare mirror. I go very fast in the opposite direction. Nagash, already filled with cold fury at the corruption of his great ritual and the disruption of his perfectly ordered plans, was further incensed to discover trespassers straying into his domain, seeking to disrupt his prison. Oh no, Daddy Death got grumpier. Such bold transgression required a fitting punishment. Reaching his dominating will into the mirrored city, Nagash located a bitter aura of hatred and self-pity emanating from the lowest levels of the city. There he found the sprawling subterranean dungeon known as the Night Vault, where spirits of dissidents were imprisoned by the Kataphranes aeons ago. Ah yes, a giant dungeon full of angry ghosts who were definitely not having a nice time. Nagash broke open the chains and enchantments that bound these shackled spirits, though he had no intention of granting them freedom. They would find no peace at the god of death's hand. Instead, he shaped the Night Vault's bitter and hateful denizens to better suit his needs, giving them forms of spectral matter and weapons to freeze the hearts of their victims. Fantastic. Weaponized trauma ghosts. Totally normal, very cool. These spirits were then granted the freedom to stalk the shadow-shrouded streets of Shadespire, yet Nagash ensured that they retained a memory of their long agony, leaving them haunted by the pains of injuries and tortures long past. Yup, that's the Nagash signature move. Give you power, but only if you never stop screaming inside. Thus did the great necromancer ensure the wretched creature's hatred and jealousy of the living would never fade. Order would be restored in the Mirrored City at any cost. This vengeful spirit army commenced the cleansing of any outsiders foolish enough to stray within the city's borders. And by order, he means ghosts with knives. Lots of ghosts. So many knives. The spectral dead delighted in the chance to inflict the same torment they had suffered upon the living, and the streets of Shadespire soon echoed to the sounds of terrified screams and cruel, mocking laughter. So to recap, cursed city full of shade glass soul traps, ruled by angry ghost revolutionaries who want you to feel bad about breathing. Got it. Now for the Mirrored City, which is technically not a place, but also many places, I think. The ruined city of Shadespire remains within the Desert of Bones within the Underworld of Penultima. However, the Mirrored City of Shadespire, which lies beyond the Looking Glass, is found within the Twilight subrealm of Uolgish. Oh good, so it's technically two cursed cities mashed together across dimensions. Real estate's very reasonable. The Mirrored City cannot be described as a city, but rather many cities crashed together and twisted on themselves, like a reflection within a reflection, stretching in all directions at once. You ever get stuck in a mirror maze? Yeah, imagine that, forever, with ghosts. Nagash twisted the Mirrored City through time itself, which can result in unusual effects upon causality. The shade glass reflects every moment, and these reflections are reflected from 100,000 mirrors, each one carving subtle, and not so subtle, differences in one's possible future. Yup. One wrong turn, and suddenly you're fighting the version of you that had a protein shake for breakfast instead of bugs. It matters. All that has, will, or might yet occur plays out across the shattered surfaces of every shade glass mirror within the city. Due to the twisted nature of time within the Mirrored City, one may find themselves fighting their past or future selves. I once met a version of me who didn't drink ink. She was very disappointed. I kicked her in the shins and ran. Elisha Dunay of the Collegiate Arcane theorizes that the city is connected to all realms and throughout time, but has begun to change and evolve, so much that even Nagash is unsure of what it might become. When the Lord of Undeath starts getting nervous, you know things are going great. There is neither day nor night, simply an eternal twilight. Above and around the city swim massive creatures of the void. Casual reminder that the sky has teeth here. Nothing can truly die in the city, not even the Stormcast Eternals, and those stuck within have no need to eat or drink, although many still do so. Which explains why there's a surprising number of noodle carts and one very angry Skaven hawking energy drinks. Warp Shot, I think it's called. Pretty good once you get past the metallic aftertaste. Kataphranes still gather groups of people together, mostly newcomers who still have hope. These they bid gather shade glass to rebuild arcane devices or merely to trade with others of their kind. Yup, welcome to the soul-bending, time-twisting city that runs on magical glass, recycled trauma, and absolutely zero OSHA regulations. Following the War of Light and Death, the power of the Necroquake was driven back, and the Kataphranes curse that rode upon its wave of unchecked death magic was finally broken. Right, broken. In the same way a cracked mirror isn't technically whole but still reflects your face, and maybe something else looking back. Some of those trapped in its crutches were freed, though the horrors they endured would never leave them. Lesions in reality affected by the curse eventually scabbed over into shade glass deposits. which is the most disgusting way anyone's ever described a souvenir, by the way. Here, have a chunk of time ghost wound. However, the curse was so potent that it could not be entirely broken, and the phenomenon known as arena mortis, where warriors rose to life mere moments after falling, remained a threat. So, sure, you're not trapped anymore. But every time you stub your toe or slip on wet cobblestones, there's a non-zero chance reality hiccups and your soul respawns in a murder labyrinth. Hooray! And let's not forget, all this started because some wizard lords wanted to cheat death and talk to Grandma through a cursed mirror. Now, even after Nagash was sucker punched off his death throne by Teclis, literally smote off the board, the shade glass still hums, the mirrors still flicker, and the whispers, they're getting louder. No one knows for sure if the Kataphranes curse is truly gone. But if you start seeing your reflection blink before you do, well, don't say I didn't warn you. Whew. And that's just the beginning. Shadespire, the mirrored city, cursed playground of undead wizard lords and stubborn ghost hunters. A city between realms, between time, between oops and oh no. We've only scratched the surface, dear listener. The curse may have started here, but it spread, and the places it touched? Hoo boy. Living mountains, drowned cities, deep sea nightmares. But those tales will have to wait. Locke's still scribbling through the scroll pile like a caffeinated scribe beetle, and I've only got so much voice left before I need a honey lemon mushroom brew. If you like this little dive into the weird and cursed, stick around. We've got plenty more. Until next time, God bless. Locke. Hey, one of your mirrors just blinked at me again. I told you we shouldn't store shade glass next to the teacups. Oh, and your reflection says it's getting impatient. You really ought to talk to it before it starts writing scrolls. Feeling spark when I compute, or am I just a substitute?